Hey LEGO fans, it's Gamer Inc. here, and the Bricklink Designer Program Series 2 released today. It has been out for about 9 hours now, and we've already had 2 sets that have completely sold out. The Mushroom House and the Brick Cross Station are no longer available for purchase, so that means if you are looking to get your order in for these exclusive sets through the crowdfunding mechanism that Bricklink is offering for these, you better get your order in quick because the other 3 sets are available, but I doubt that they'll probably all make it to the 23-day deadline that you have to get your order placed. As of right now, it looks like the Ominous Isle is about halfway through its purchase limit, which I believe for each set is around 30,000 units, so looks like Ominous Isle is about halfway there. The Logging Railroad and the Ocean House are a little lagging behind, so those are definitely going to have a little bit more lead time as far as when they may potentially sell out, but I wouldn't wait too long if you are set on wanting to pick up some of these sets. Now, if any of these sets are not particularly catching your eye this go around, there will be Series 3 and Series 4 that'll be coming out later. I believe Series 3 will be coming up for purchase in October, and Series 4 will be coming up for purchase in February. But as of right now, they have open voting available if you are registered as a Bricklink user to vote on the Series 5 sets, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here today. So let's head on over to Bricklink, and I will show you some of my favorite sets that I have voted for and what I'm hoping to see get produced in Series 5. And as always, if you are a LEGO fan, be sure to like and subscribe. I do a variety of content over here on this channel, from model building to LEGO building to gaming. There's a little bit of something here for everybody, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe, follow along for more nerdy content. So as you can see over here for Series 2, we have the Mushroom House and Brick Cross Station have both sold out, but we can still at this time pick up Ominous Isle, the Logging Railway, and the Ocean House. Now, I'm not picking up any of the sets from this current series because I have my eye pretty heavily on some other stuff that's getting ready to release, and budget just isn't allowing for that. But let's jump on over to Series 5 and I'll show you some of my favorite sets that I voted on so far. Now I'll be showing these to you in a order based on the piece count from smallest to largest, and the first one that I wanted to show you is this Mountain Pass Transit. So we shouldn't forget about the small sets when we were looking at these, because sometimes I feel like the bigger sets really overshadow some of the smaller sets that come up, and this one is fantastic, especially if you're into like the micro builds. I feel like this set was easily recognizable as for what it is. A great use of small pieces to convey a message or a scene with the little train and the barge and the sailboats. This is just a really great small micro build, and wanted to give a little shout out to the smaller sets that tend to sometimes get overlooked. Next, if you're a city builder, there's nothing that really brings your city to life like some of the little details, and I think this little yellow kiosk is a great addition if you're doing a larger city build, because it just kind of gives you that little extra life that comes from having like a newsstand or a food cart or a food truck. So this is another great small set that I think has some super cute little details to it, and would add just a little bit of extra life to your city if you're working on a larger build. And piggybacking off of that idea, if you're not necessarily doing a city build and maybe you've got a castle build, then you definitely need a wizard and a wagon. If you don't have a Gandalf set from like the Lord of the Rings that released several years ago, this is a fantastic little set to add a little bit of charm and character to a larger fantasy build. We got a wizard with his wagon and a couple horses, the goat minifigure, which has been a really sought after piece, a little fountain, and I think it just brings a little extra life to a larger medieval build. Now, this expedition blimp is a lot of fun, and I think it's a theme that we don't often see conveyed a lot in LEGO builds, is like a take on a little bit of a steampunk vibe. So with the blimp and the minifigures and the way they're all done up, I'm totally getting like that kind of fun mechanical steampunk type of theme, and we don't have enough of that, and we definitely should see a little bit more of steampunk woven into the traditional city or the medieval stuff. It's just a really cool theme that I think could be expanded on, so I would love to see more of this type of build done in the future. Now this My Little Tree house was super eye-catching because it's got some fantastic colors and a lot of little critters and little extra details that really kind of bring this to life. Reminds me a lot of the Ideas A-Frame cabin. This set kind of also pairs with a camper that I believe is coming out in season 3 or series 3 or 4 of the designer program. So it's just a fun little kind of woodsy theme that we don't see a whole lot of, but I love the colors and all the extra characters that you get with it. There's an owl I see, little ducklings, squirrels. So between the colors and all the little critters, it's just a really fun little set that I think you could throw in like a park or the edge of a city build. But yeah, we've been seeing a little bit more of like these camping themes with these fun colors, and I am here for it. Okay, next we have the Coconut Cafe, which kind of is a little bit of a throwback to a set that we saw over in Series 1, which was the Snack Shack. It's got this fun little beach theme, cute little yellow truck that, you know, I could kind of see maybe a surfboard thrown in the back of. But along with what we saw from Snack Shack, we've got the fun little palm tree and a little seagull. And I think these two sets, if you put them together, would kind of round out like a little sub-theme in a city of just a day at the beach. It's got a great vibe, and I think this is just an adorable little set. Now back in Series 1, we got the General Store, which this was a set that I personally bought at release because I think there aren't a whole lot of sets that I've seen that follow like that old Western type of feel. So the Old West Mine really caught my eye because I thought that this would really be a fun addition if you were doing like an Old West city build. This one's got an open back and some really cool play features where you've got the miner in the back of the mine, you got the fun horse stall and all of the extra little character pieces like the cacti and stuff that just makes this a really fun Western theme set. Now I thought that Deep Sea Discovery was really unique because we've often seen ship builds or sea-themed builds, but the merge of a ship with a sea theme is really fun, and I liked the look of this sunken ship with all of the sea creatures and the skellies, and then you've got the little submarine going down, the scuba divers and all of the little sea creatures. It really gives this a feel of it being underwater, and I think they did a fantastic job with the way that the ship is broken apart with all of the sea creatures kind of interwoven throughout. So this would be another really fun set that I think is definitely unique and kind of gets us outside of some of the other themes that we typically see, which is like pirates and trains and medieval type builds. Now, just because medieval type builds are something we see a lot doesn't mean that they're not good, and this one in particular really caught my eye because of its uniqueness. This tower bridge is a really different take on the traditional medieval themes that we sometimes see. I like the boats and the water kind of effect that they've done here, and so this would be a fun and kind of a unique add really to some of the medieval theme sets that we've seen. It's not your traditional castle or medieval town. I think this adds a really fun and unique structure that you don't often see in medieval builds. Now, when you get outside of Disney, you don't often see a lot of fairy tale type builds, and I think this one is so cute. Now, we'll often see things like elves or medieval, but I think fairy tales have their own little niche, and besides like Disney princesses and like the new Snow White cottage, this is a fun take that's not necessarily tied to a license or a franchise, and so I think this is adorable. This totally caught my eye as something unique that you don't often see. Now this one's a little bit near and dear to my heart because I'm a farm girl from the Midwest who grew up on a farm that doesn't look all that different from what we see here, and I can just see my little nieces and nephews going absolutely crazy for a set like this. This reminds me growing up a little bit of like those little people farms that you would play with, but this is a really well done farm Lego set. We've often seen like the Technic builds for John Deere, but this little kind of all-encompassing farmhouse farm with the critters and the little tractor is a very well done farm life set, and I give this a 10 out of 10. Now, LEGO has done a lot of modular buildings in the past, but I don't know that they've ever done a school, and so this one is a lot of fun. I really like those specialty bricks that give the look of the stone facades on these buildings, and this one incorporates quite a bit of those actually. Sometimes they're used a little bit more sparsely, but this would be a great modular to add to any one city build. And it's got quite a few minifigs in it, a lot of really cool play features as well. And the back is enclosed, which I know is very sought after for a lot of the folks that are doing city builds. Having open backs isn't necessarily desirable when you're trying to do a full 360 city. And so this one has a completely enclosed in back and is a really elegantly done little brick schoolhouse. Going back to that Wild West theme, we have this Wild West Jorok City Bank. Again, some really cool features with all the horses and the cacti and the banners that are up on the bank. This just really feels like a fun, old-timey Wild West city block. So I think it's got great colors. I like how the greens and the reds kind of pop against the sandy colors. So yeah, if you're doing a Wild West build, this would be a fun little add. Now, I really like a spooky set, and I was never able to get my hands on the haunted house that LEGO did. I think it retired a year ago or so, but this manor is right on par with that. I think I even like this quite a bit better. This gives me like a feeling of like almost like an Addams Family house or the Sabrina from the Netflix series type of manor. So it also breaks apart, I believe, into stories, so it's got some really fun play features, and I do also believe that it's completely enclosed, so if you wanted to kind of weave it into your city build, it would be like the fun spooky house out on the far corner of town. It's got great colors. I like just kind of like a traditional gray manor up on a hill. If you like a spooky theme, this one here is really well done. Now, there's always a lot of medieval themes that are submitted in each series, and there's a few that have definitely caught my eye, and this one in particular sure did, because I think it's got a very unique coloring scheme to it that we don't often see. It's a lot darker with like those lighter brick contrasts and the little cart and horse that come along with it. This definitely kind of stands out amongst all the other medieval builds that I've seen just because it's got a really fun coloring scheme that gives it that little extra pop. It's definitely kind of like a more moodier, darker medieval take than some of the other ones we've seen, but as far as a simple medieval tavern, this one is very well done. Now, this one I think is really great because it takes that medieval theme and gives it that little bit of a fairy tale twist with like a Robin Hood vibe to it. I can just see Robin Hood and his merry men held up in here in this wooded fortress type stronghold. So it's got great colors with like the greens and the golds against the browns and the grays of the fortress. And the fence line in the front is really unique and very well done. Definitely has more of that fairy tale vibe to it than just a traditional medieval set. It comes with a boat and bandit type figures. This here is just a really unique set on a twist between medieval and maybe fairy tale themed. Now we're definitely starting to get into some of the bigger builds that are being introduced into the series, and Fort by the River is no exception. Castles are done quite a bit, and so in order to make yours stand out, you really kind of have to give it that little extra twist, and this one does it very well. Fortress up on a cliffside with a little bit of like a water detail. I think the color scheme is a little unique in that it's a much lighter and not your typical gray brick. We do a lot more of the white and give some nice contrast to those little pops of color that you kind of see. It also appears to be a fully enclosed build that doesn't have an open back to it, but it does either hinge or come apart in places to give it some fun plate features. Now, this set isn't giving a little bit of the Lord of the Rings Return of the King vibe. I don't know what other set could, because this is giving like White City of Gondor to a T. It's another really fun classic castle build, but I think it has just enough of a twist to really stand out amongst the crowd. Again, we've got this lighter brick build that I'm vibing with as far as castles go, because I just feel it makes those little bits of color that you add, like this one's got the reds and the blues and the dark door. It just makes some of those accents pop. It's also got a little bit of Gothic cathedral vibe with the tower, and makes it just a set that stands out amongst other castles. Pirates is another theme that we see an awful lot of, and I think you really have to do something a little special to make your set stand out, and this one does it so well. I get a total Pirates of the Caribbean vibe coming with this. I almost feel like you could see Jack Sparrow sailing up to these docks and stepping off like he does in the beginning of the first movie. This has got so much charm, so many little Easter eggy things that are happening in this scene at this pirate docks, and I think that has so much charm and character to it that makes it its own and stands apart from other pirate themed sets that we see introduced. We're getting down into the final sets here that we're going to talk about, and this one here I think might be my personal favorite, and that is this Adventure in Transylvania, because I love a spooky set, and this one I think takes the cake because it does a look that we don't often see, and I love this really gothic vibe that we're getting in this building. The colors are fantastic with the really dark brown bricks contrasting against the reds and the blues. You've got almost like a steampunky vibe maybe going on a little bit with some of the minifigs, but this set is just very, very eye-catching and really unique, and you can kind of almost weave it into a medieval, or you could even put it into a regular city as like a spooky house out on the edge of town. I think you could use it in multiple different ways, but super well done, very unique and very different from the architecture that we sometimes see in these types of sets. And the final set that we'll talk about, which also appears to be the largest set that I have voted for this go around, not necessarily the biggest set available in this Designer Series 5 program, but this is the last one that I personally voted for, is this floating waterfall castle. But this one is just very eye-catching and really unique to have like this floating city with a little bit of a waterfall and then the stairs. Very, very nicely done. Got the wizard at the top for a little bit of a fantasy vibe, which I think whatever type of build you might be adding this to, or if you're just a fantasy medieval collector, it's very striking. It's got some great colors, and I think this is just a really beautifully done set. Now this one does appear to be open-backed instead of completely enclosed, which allows for some fun little scenes and some extra play features, and quite a large offering of minifigs as well. So those are some of my favorite sets that I found through the Designer Program Series 5. Now voting is still open clear up until June 14th, so if you want to go vote on some of your favorite sets in the hopes that they may come up for crowdfunding, probably in late 25 or 26, I would imagine. They will be announcing these, it looks like, on August 19th of this year. So be sure to check it out. This is a really great program. There are other series that will be coming up, like Series 3 and Series 4 for crowdfunding later this year and early next year. But I think it's a great program. It's a fun way for you to get your hands on some unique sets, or if you're a designer yourself, possibly get your build selected. But thanks for hanging out with me. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll do more LEGO video content in the future.